My least favorite season, but I'm keeping up the grind for the Discord kitten title. Me too, me too.
These barrels are smoking.
Me too. I'm doing it as well. That's why I'm here to do my dailies. Actually, speaking of which, let's do it right now. This is gonna be a speed run. This is not gonna take very long. But I had some complications last week. So if you saw, I did a tier list that went out a couple days ago. There was a sponsor on it, and when you do sponsored, oh, I just gave away what I'm gonna be doing later. Ah, well, screw it. Anyways, when you do sponsor stuff, you kind of have to submit it ahead of time to get it approved and stuff like that. There was a surprise patch on Tuesday, right? There was a surprise patch, and there's nothing you can do. It's already pre-planned, everything's already set to go. I felt a little bit bad because obviously things changed, right? Things changed right as like the patch came out because there's gonna be some nerfs and some buffs. Although I don't actually think it changed that much. So I went ahead and put all the characters down here at the bottom that got patched, and I'll go over them again really, really quick. But realistically, maybe it's a bit of a spoiler alert, but not much is really going to change here anyways. All right, first up, we'll start with Sombra. Here's the deal. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't know. And the reason I don't know is because I haven't really played a whole lot of Overwatch this week. And by a whole lot, I mean like 6 hours maybe, give or take. That being said, I don't think I've seen a single person play Sombra in that time. I've heard some people say Sombra's good. I've heard most people say Sombra's still bad. I don't think like much really changed other than when you buff numbers, of course a character's going to be better, right? That's just how it goes. That being said though, because I'm not actually 100% sure, I'm going to say Sombra is probably better because they did buff damage. They did buff they did buff the translocator. Like they buffed, well actually hang on. Let me pull the patch notes out for you again real quick. For Sombras in particular, right? The delay on the translocator, oh sorry, excuse me, it wasn't damage, it was EMP cost. My bad. Now exits stealth when hacking an enemy target, which is technically a nerf. But then these two buffs right here,
Sombra is sneaky
right?
good right now.
You see, I keep hearing cope from people saying that Sombra's sneaky good, but I've literally not seen a single person pick Sombra and actually do well. But that being said, though, like I said, I haven't played enough of it, so I'm gonna bump Sombra up a tier to see. I think it could end up being even higher, but then again, I just haven't seen anyone play her. Like literally, they just don't see him anywhere. Like I keep seeing people say like, oh, it's better, but like where, you know? So I think it's early. Who knows? I still stand by my sentiment that the rework is worse. I think the rework overall is worse than the previous iteration of Sombra. You can argue that it needs to be played differently or you need to learn a new style. I don't want to argue any of that. I am just saying it is fundamentally worse. I know they wanted to make it so perma-stealth was gone. It was a good effort. However, though, it just seems worse. I think there's a bigger elephant in the room that needs a rework. I'm looking at you, you f***. Anyways, next up, Ball got a couple buffs to the quad cannons for ammo and the grappling claw duration. The ammo is the only one that's kind of relevant. This one's really not that relevant. But that being said, though, I do think Ball is actually sneaky a little bit better. Not by a lot, but like, my little prediction is I think at OWCS Stockholm, Sweden, we will see Ball. I think Ball has a good chance of being played. The reason why Ball has a good chance of being played is Ball is played in dive, and the best teams in the world, being the Korean teams, play lots of dive. Unfortunately, there isn't, at least to my knowledge, any Chinese teams. The Chinese teams were the best teams on Ball, so you might see some Ball there. But in like average ranked game, I don't think he's the best, but I think that he's probably a little bit better now. Ramattra is probably the biggest changes out of all of this. I think Ramattra actually is much better again. I don't know if I'm willing to throw him all the way up here, but I'm kind of want to. I like low-key think Ram's actually pretty damn good now. Like, you put him back to how he was. So, like, he's good in the shield matchups again. And even though you don't really play a whole lot of, well, I guess like normal brawl, you're still playing, well, the horse in the room is actually still probably the best tank. I do think Ramattra is really, really good, but here's the problem. Here's the problem I've now run into on this list. Ready? And it's why I was like a little bit tempted to just remake the whole thing, but it's not enough changes to remake the whole thing. I don't think Orisa's S anymore. I think Orisa's like the number 1A. So it's like, how do I show that, right? So it's like, this is like A+ versus everyone else being A-, right? That's like the best way I could basically describe it to you. But like, Orisa's still really good. Actually, which is surprising, because I didn't think Orisa... I thought the nerfs would be enough, because these are pretty significant nerfs. Javelin base damage from 80 to 70. Fortified no longer reduces fusion driver heat generation. And then they changed, they took away 50 armor, replaced it with health. Like, that's a good survivability nerf as well. However, though, Widow is still kind of dominating, and it's just weird. It's just weird. Like, Orisa kind of keeps any brawl characters in check. Widow just keeps one-tapping people. I don't actually know. It's weird, though. But at least from what I've seen and from what I've experienced, Orisa's still really, really, really strong. But I wouldn't say she's like a turn-your-brain-off pick like she was previously. That being said, speaking of turning your brain off picks, yeah, Juno's still great. The nerf to the ult is still actually insane. I think in OWCS, you could potentially see more Ana over Juno, particularly from Korean teams potentially, because they love their dive. But Juno is still really, really good. Brig Juno is like the meta comp, quote unquote. And then Juno Ana is probably my favorite ranked comp, like personal favorite ranked comp. I think this comp kind of goes hard. But she's not as dominant. Like, you can definitely feel the ult nerf a little bit. It's just not enough to like knock her off. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can sort of kill things now through the Juno ult if you hit every shot. You weren't doing that before. Right, like if you hit every shot on a Juno ult, there was a good chance you weren't gonna kill him. Now you kinda can, but it's still a lot. So, yeah, pretty much. I know this was probably a very weird, scuffed revision, but I wasn't sure on how else to do this. But yeah, I felt like I wanted to, or I felt like I needed to, after releasing this one a couple days ago. Again, I apologize. There's nothing I can do. When you do a sponsor on something like that, like, you have to get it approved ahead of time and you submit it. And I even messaged it like earlier. I was like, hey, like, you know, there's apparently gonna be a patch. Like, can we get it out maybe a little sooner, so then I could like have like a follow up right after. And it just couldn't happen. So it's kind of the way it had to be. So yeah, here is your revision to the start of season 13 tier list.